Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Wolves Fancast. We are here today to discuss not one, but two fixtures against the same team in the same week. How exciting! We are talking about tonight the Liverpool doubleheader, the league game tomorrow night, and the cup match on Friday night. Both under the lights at Molineux. Hopefully, it won't be raining as bad as it was last Friday, but I'd definitely take the resultant performance from last Friday. Right, joined here tonight, I have got with me Jay. Jay, good evening. How are you, sir?
Evening, mate. Yeah, all good, all good. Monday's over. The worst part of the week, anyway, ain't it?
It is, and it's been a long old Monday for me, I can promise you that. Dave, how you doing, sir?
I can't complain. You all right?
Yeah. There's no point complaining, is there? Who's going to listen to us?
We'll have a go. We'll have a go.
Yeah, we keep trying. We've got to keep on the positive. We've got to keep on the positive vibes today, gents. Right? We've had enough. I've had bloody doom and gloom since August, pretty much exclusively. So we need to try and kick it up a notch and get it a bit more positive today. And John, hi John, nice to meet you. Great to have you on board tonight.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come on. I'm still on a bit of a high from Friday, to be honest, so I ain't got the Monday feeling yet.
Good man. Yeah, we did do a joke on Sunday about how long it took people to recover after Friday night. Dan had mentioned that Wolverhampton was busier than it's ever been, which is probably true, to be honest. And it's going to be interesting looking at next season whether they're going to be able to maintain that. So, without further ado, we are into the double-header preview show. Liverpool at home twice, once in the league, once in the cup. Obviously, in preparation for those games, there's been the pre-match press conferences today. So Slot had his and Rob Edwards as well, talking about both games. So let's get into that, have a look at it. As I say, Rob's presser, obviously there was a bit of reflection on the Villa game as well. We'll pick that up. And then him looking forward towards Liverpool. So first things first, in terms of team news, Rob's confirmed that Hwang Chan is back from recovering from a calf strain that obviously happened during the Chelsea home game. That means that's actually, I think it's probably the first time pretty much since the start of the season where Wolves have got a full choice or full options available from the start. So we've been obviously riddled with various injuries throughout the season. Totti came back for the Villa game and Hwang's back now. Obviously, good to have an option on the bench. Do you think Hwang that's where he'll slot in? Obviously, he's been out for a while. Or do you see Rob trying to rejiggle things and maybe bring him back, Jay?
I think the uproar if he did would be wouldn't be worth it, would it? But it's never a bad thing, is it? Having a full squad when you've got a game Tuesday, then Friday, then Monday. It's quick turnaround, 3 games. You want all the players that you can available, whether they play full, whether they start or whether they come off the bench. I mean, he'll definitely come off the bench at some point in one of those 3 games. You would have thought so. So long as it's off the bench and not from the start, I'm relatively happy.
Your thoughts, John? Are you in agreement with Jay there? Are you thinking it's probably better? I think, to be honest, I agree with Jay. We need to phase him back in. He's been out for a number of games. It's not like one game or something. Phase him in. Also, there's the argument, and we'll get on to the team selection and how we think the team's going to be and what we would do later on. But I think it's probably best to keep that as an option and move forward. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely wouldn't start him. Put it that way. Probably bring him on just towards the end of the game. He didn't get a great reception before he went off injured in the last time he played, so his confidence isn't exactly going to be good. Liverpool, I mean, they're a strong team, let's be honest. So I'd probably just chuck him on at the end of the game, really, last sort of 10 minutes or something, if I'm honest. Yeah,
good shout. One thing I would say, Dave, I'll bring you in here, is Chan has been a key part of the dressing room. He's still been involved. I don't know if you saw the videos on Friday with Rob kind of banging around, celebrating, going a bit crazy with the guys dancing. And Channy was in there, albeit obviously in his own, not dressed in kit. He was obviously in there. So I think he's quite a well-liked member of the team. I think I'd agree with John. He's not been the fans' flavour of the month recently, but he certainly seems to be popular within the dressing room. So maybe that's good to have him back in from that perspective, if nothing else.
Yeah, he's one of the elder statesmen, really, isn't he? I think he's been here. He's one of the longest serving. I know it seems stupid, but he's been here, what, 4 years, and yeah, he's I'm the same as Saw. I'm guessing he's part of the leadership group as well, which I'm guessing they've all got some sort of role there. So yeah, I want to say it's a good thing, but I don't know if it is. I don't know what it actually brings anymore.
Yeah, I think that's been a question for like the season generally, isn't it, in terms of players and how they've contributed or not contributed. And we'll come on to that in a second. There was a couple of examples that Rob talked about in the press. So he talked about Jackson, and I'll read that one out. And then he did talk briefly about Joe as well, and him building and getting his confidence. And it's not been a good season for him, but there's a good player there and moving forward. So that was an interesting one. Just to quote, and I say Rob was asked to kind of reflect after Friday and where the club is and where it's going. And I will read this quote out, particularly for those of you who are listening as opposed to watching the show. Rob quoted, the quote from Rob today was, "I've not been here long yet, not had loads to shout about, but some good performances and results have been creeping in more." Doesn't sound the most confident statement ever, but I'll carry on. "Has been creeping in more and more this calendar year, and that was a big moment. Felt it at the whole club, a really nice moment to share with the supporters. I keep banging on that the lads are performing and competing and giving everything, but we're in a business about results and wins. So when you do get a win like that, it amplifies what I'm saying, and perhaps people believe it a bit more." So, thoughts on that? I'll go with you first, John. Thoughts on that from Rob? Would you agree with his assessment that the performances and results have been creeping in? And it was a great moment on Friday. It was a great result. Do you think that means that the players are going to buy into him a bit more and move forward on that?
Well, I mean, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? I don't know if they have been creeping in. I guess they have a little bit, but the consistency is just obviously still not there, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of surprised because you hear a lot of things, don't you, from Facebook and social media and whatever. I was kind of surprised when they posted that video of him in the dressing room after the game. I almost took that as them trying to prove a point that they are all together and there is some kind of unity. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. You do read into things too much as a football fan, really. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's the same with that comment, really. He's still trying to kind of prove himself, I guess, as a manager, because the consistency is not there, but we are better than we were. So it's a tricky one, really.
Yeah. I mean, Dave, there's a few comments in here as well about the reality is, it's 2 wins. Is that acceptable? Is that enough? And I kind of said I want to try and keep this positive, but I can't argue with that. It is 2 wins. That is what Rob has given us since he's been in. And as you said, John, I think the performances, there's been some good performances. Man United away was a good performance. I was there for that. We were unlucky at Arsenal away, but there's been also some pretty shocking performances as well mixed in with that. Would you agree with Rob's assessment? Do you agree with John in terms of his feedback and thoughts?
I don't buy into he's not been here long enough. He's been here since October. Is it October? Yeah. Something like that. What's that? 5, nearly 6 months. That should be long enough to get a team sort of prepared and better organised. Which, compared to Vitor, he has done. But obviously, that's having a good backroom staff alongside him. Some of his management, especially at the Chelsea game where he went 4 at the back, was stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, he has been a lot better for the squad. I'm guessing management wise than the last couple of managers.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The reality is Watford would normally get through 2 or 3 managers in that point. As we know, they do like to recycle. So he's had a bit longer than the average Watford manager in terms of getting himself together. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Jay, I'd like to get your thoughts on that as well. One sunny day does not make a summer, but it was a sunny day on Friday. Well, it wasn't. It was pissing down, but it was a good day on Friday.
It was. I mean, it felt like not long after a good kind of result against Arsenal. I would argue I don't think the performances have been there, but I think the effort and the endeavour has definitely been there. He's actually made a good couple of little tactical tweaks at sort of half time, and we've improved second halves in those games. I'll defend him a little bit. I think he's been dealt a really bad hand, and I've waved the white flag in January. Let's be honest, let players go and brought in Adam Armstrong, who, although he's playing well, he's a championship player. They've definitely not improved the squad in January. I don't, in anybody else, there's nobody swapping Adam Armstrong for JSL and Harry Ass for Angel Garmers. If you look at them as footballers, he's been brought in with next season in mind, and that's the way I look at it. And if he can give us a few nice moments, like a last-minute equaliser against Arsenal and a beating of those knobheads from down the M6 on a Friday night, then I'm quite happy, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, you can look at it from a number of angles, and I think this point, and John, I'm going to loop you in on this. So, North's put 123 North has put, and thank you. I know you're always here, so I appreciate you joining us again and for your comment. He's predicting that we'll be back to normal, and I'm assuming normal's not good enough the next two games. Is that the keys that we seem to have gone through? And you talked a lot about consistency, and I agree. Is it a case of what Rob actually needs to do is put one or two performances back to back together and actually use that to build confidence, as opposed to where we seem to go one step forward, two steps back a lot?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something we need to do. And whether that comes from keeping the team the same, I'm not sure. That's kind of what I was thinking about earlier before the show. I think just doing it like against Villa was brilliant. Getting the point against Arsenal was great. But then there's still those games where we're playing against like Palace and looking pretty awful, to be honest, than the other team sort of earlier on in the season. The consistency is just key to it. Whether that is the team lineup, I don't know. But going into two games against Liverpool, I mean, it's very hard to gauge it, isn't it, really? Because any other time of the season, any other team, if you lose to Liverpool, you lose to Liverpool, really. So it's a tricky one. Just need to see the effort there, really.
But you think that's the type of game, let's be honest, under the lights, same as Villa, that as players, even if you're not necessarily at the level of Liverpool, it should be a game that you're up for. You should be committed. You should be, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying, John? It's just, if you're a professional footballer, that's the games you play for, isn't it? Let's be honest. And so they should be up for it, even if they ultimately fall short.
A lot of the players talk, don't they, about how they wanted to come to the Premier League their whole life. So these are the games they're coming for, isn't it, really? So you would like to see it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, as I said, there were a couple of players that Rob talked about. The one I want to sounds wrong. The one I want to highlight is Jackson Chichira. So again, he talked a lot about Jackson, who I think we kind of generally agreed had probably his best half in a Wolves shirt against Villa in the second half. And he's talked about, we want the supporters to continue to back him and support him. I told him they know how quick you are and the quality you have. So go. And if it doesn't come off, go and do it again and again, and I'll be clapping on the touchline. Also, his defensive work has been outstanding since we arrived, and it's important people recognise that. Now, I wouldn't necessarily use the word outstanding for his defensive, my personal opinion. I think he's been much better defensively than he has going forward, although I don't think that would be particularly difficult. But I do think that was a real change. And again, we've talked about the team's consistency, and I think what we need to see, for me, is that another second half from Jackson tomorrow and or Friday. Well, and Friday, really. What are your thoughts on that, Jay? Particularly around, as I say, that kind of feedback from Rob on Jackson.
So he's spot on. If Wolves fans watch somebody make an effort, they'll back him all day. Whether he's good enough or not, we will back him. I mean, Rodrigo Gomez, everybody loves him. Is he that good of a footballer? I'm not really convinced. But he gets his head down and he runs and he works hard. He does what we would do if we were on that pitch wearing a Wolves top. So, we will back him if he keeps going. The biggest frustration, that the Everton game away from home, every time he got the ball, he just turned back and played it safe. That's the most I've seen anybody. That was when he was getting his worst criticism, was when he was just turning back and playing it safe. He's not losing the ball. He's it's cowardly, and that's what we hate as football fans. We want you to put your effort in. If you lose the ball, that's fine. If you're running down the line and trying to create something and you lose the ball, we'll be okay with it. It's when you stop and you turn back and you play negatively. I think you're right on his defensive attributes. He's much better defensive than he's going forward. His crossing ability's not there, is it? But he's good one-on-one. He's a really good one-on-one defender, but he just switches off. That's the one thing I will say. He does switch off, so he's not outstanding, as Rob said. But he's definitely been okay defensively.
I guess the question for you, and I'm going to ask this to you, Dad, because obviously you've mentioned in the previous that Rob's been here a while now, and you're absolutely right with that. Why has it took us till the end of February for this to kind of click? If we as a fan base have been seeing it for months, and as Jay's been quite vocal about it, why is it suddenly only just clicked now that it's like, oh, actually, I should do this? Do you know what I mean? Am I missing something? Am I being overly critical? Do you know what I mean? Am I missing? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like all of a sudden someone flicked a switch in his head on Friday and went, oh, sorry, I'm going to go for it. And it's just like, why is no someone in the first coaching session? And bear in mind, they train every day, right? Pretty much. I know there's an odd day. Why is no one just say, Jackson, just do it? And or am I being too unfair there? Or, where's your perspective on this?
See, I don't know if it's part of I don't want to blame Rob, but is it sort of his tactical plan where he just wants to sit tight and not attack too much just to try and get some points on the board, which we was lacking when he first come in. So he's telling the back five just to try and stay where I am, keep it safe. And he's just got to the Villa game. He's probably recognised the last couple of games. He's gone, you know what? Fuck it, we're going down. Just play with a bit of freedom.
Yeah. I'll just bring you in as well, John, just to kind of close it off on Jackson. Where are you at with Jackson? Obviously, we haven't spoken about Jackson before, so I'm going to open it up slightly wider for you. Where are your thoughts with Jackson? Is he just not good enough? Is he playing out of position? Is he more of a fullback than a wing back? Where do you sit on Jackson Shachua?
I think one of the frustrating things with him is when we signed him, he was billed as being, was it the quickest player in Syria and all this sort of stuff. And there's been moments, obviously, where he's been quick, but there's been times when the ball's been played across to him, up into the corner, and I don't even think he's even run for it, let alone been the quickest player in Italy or whatever it is they were saying. Yeah. So I think there's just been a bit of confusion. Whether it's self-doubt for him, I don't know, but he's just not had that sort of spark to go and just open it up. But then again, as you've said, the second half against Villa, he turned into Cafu, so I don't know. Yeah. I just don't know what what it is that flicked. Whether it was just the thought of, like you say, no, it's the end of the season, or Rob's done some master team talk in 15 minutes. I don't know.
It just feels weird for a player. I mean, let's be frank here. He was woeful first half, and I won't have anyone tell me he wasn't woeful. The one bit where they played it out to him on the wing and he did a silly dance, spun round, and he went straight out for a throw-in, right? And he was awful. But I cannot knock, genuinely, as much as I've talked on this channel a lot about I would have rather had Rodrigo Gomez there, and we can talk about Rodrigo in the context of the team selection later on, because that's another interesting conundrum. But I can see other options. I think Lima should have had a shout. I mean, how bad is he? Must be in training to not even get a sniff of time. But for me, and to suddenly have such a big difference over a 15-minute break just feels insane. And it just makes me wonder, that's the question I asked you, Dave, in terms of, is he being coached wrong? Is there something we're just missing more generally? I don't think he is good enough in terms of Premier League standard. I think that's the reality. And I think we've probably been a bit blessed potentially with Doc and then Nelson playing right wing back and have been able to progress in different ways, obviously different styles of players. And I think obviously it's a significant downgrade on that. But just a very bizarre one. Well, let's see what happens tomorrow and see where we get to. In terms of Liverpool injury news or selection news, team news, so Arne Slot has confirmed that Jeremy Frimpong has returned from injury and he is available for selection. Obviously, he was responsible for the assist for the first goal for Liverpool when we played them up at Anfield. And then the second one is that Florian Wirtz, is definitely out for Tuesday, and he's unlikely to feature on Friday either. As we all know, for Wirtz, who got his first Liverpool goal against us, not only, what was it, 90 seconds after the first goal, or even less than that, the first goal we conceded, a real bad one. So that's Liverpool. Other than that, they've got a pretty settled seed. I know there's a few longer term injuries that they've got, but in terms of what Arnie talked about, was there. He also talked about, and I am going to digress slightly off, he also talked about football being a bit like functional, and I think he was referring to Arsenal's prowess with set pieces and corners and kind of moving away from that. And I'd just like to take a quick step back and just say, what are your thoughts, gents, in terms of, you know, way the football's going in the Premier League? It is very set piece. We've obviously seen the resurgence of the long ball throw and everyone trying to find out who can throw the ball, who's got the player that's got the longest throw, and just sling them in. Are we seeing a slight move away from maybe obviously everyone was going down a Pep-induced tiki-taka, everything like that, and we seem to be kind of countering that with more direct football, longer throws, set pieces, corners and that. Where do you think Premier League football is at the moment? Is it a case of it's adjusting? Is it a case of it's balancing out? Or where do you sit? And I'm going to loop in each of you. So, Jay, do you want to go first on that?
I watched a bit of the Arsenal-Chelsea game, and it's just boring, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's boring. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. I like to see free-flowing football, not just people slinging the ball into the box at every opportunity and fighting with each other. And Arsenal, the reason that if you take away the set-piece goals, and I think they're struggling to make top four, and it's not what I want to see the team winning the league. I want them to say, I want to see them playing good football. I mean, we all want to see a title race, don't we? That's one of the big things is, but it is pretty awful, isn't it? I mean, that's what those squads assembled are worth like $2 billion, and it's just like watching WWE.
Yeah, I mean,
at times.
Sorry, go on, Jay.
No, go on. You're good, mate. It's done.
That's cool. So I was going to say, and Dave, there's been a lot of talk about that the Premier League football is now based on athleticism rather than skill. And they were saying a lot of some of these, you look at players that score goals, you know, I think they were talking about players like Matt Letizia at Southampton, who used to kind of the ability there. Again, people trying long range goals, volleys. What happened to the goal, volley goals? We don't seem to see any of those anymore. You know, where do you sit on this? Is it a case that this is where the whole data analysis, XG is kind of, impacting and working against the kind of the art of football, should we say?
It bores me to death most weeks. Football does. You get the odd one game, say like the Brentford Burnley game the other day. You get the odd two sheets to the wind where both teams just go for it. But most teams, horseshoe passing, no Mavericks. I mean, you've only got to go back a few years. The likes of Allens and Maximan and Eden Hazard, they wouldn't be scared to take a man on. But these days, it is you've got to get your data. You got to get your passes up on data. You got to do your sprints. You got to. That's what people care about. There's only probably one person you can blame, and that's the bald fraud at City.
Yeah. Well, you got to the situation where we've seen it, where there's people trying to play it from the back in League Two on, let's be honest, Parks pitches, and then they wonder why they're conceding silly goals and stuff. And
I play like 9-a-side on a Thursday, and the manager wants us to play it from the back. We're playing 9-a-side.
Yeah.
Half the time it's lumpy and it works.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lost start. John, just get your thoughts in, just to close this off, in terms of your thoughts on the Premier League and the game of football.
I think the comment about it just being athletics is spot on, really. I mean, they all wear those things now, don't they, where it just tracks absolutely everything. And there's been stories where they won't even sign, some teams won't even sign players unless the data is hitting certain points, like irrelevant to everything else. I was talking about it to my mate the other day. Like, when you think about iconic Premier League players and goals, I mean, especially goals, I don't think any of the best ever Premier League goals have even happened in the last 5 years, to be honest, what I can think of. When you think back to like Rooney's bicycles and things like that, it's just the game's completely changed. Yeah.
Well, it just doesn't seem to be a player that thinks, you know what, I'm 25 yards out, I'm just going to hit it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, you know what I mean? It's like, no, I've got to play back, I've got to recycle it over to the winger or the wing back, depending on your formation. You know what I mean? It's like everything has to be scored within the 18-yard box. And I do wonder, and this is, I know, a bit of a hot take for a Monday evening. I do wonder if some players are just playing for stats padding. You know what I mean? I'll play the easy pass, and then my pass percentage completions up higher and stuff like that. And I do wonder if we've got to a stage, like you say, where people are just thinking, you know what, have a go, try it. We just don't seem to have that. It's a real shame. And as you say, it does ultimately impact. Still's gone with thank you for your message. He's gone with Núñez versus Chelsea. So yeah, we will take that one. That was a volley. It was a good finish. Yeah, you lose points because it was Núñez and he's a rat. So unfortunately, that does work against you in that situation. But I think, I think it's. I think that there is that, like you say, Dave, the maverick. I mean, you look at someone. I was just thinking, like, just while you were saying that, Adel Taarabt. I mean, he was the ultimate. I mean, I appreciate it was more at the championship level, but he was kind of an ultimate maverick, and we just don't seem to have that. Everyone seems to be feature function these days and very dry.
It's been mentioned tonight that he's a top footballer, but it's took him that long to adapt to the pace of the Premier League and the physicality of it that you haven't seen any talent from him. People were writing him off after first 2 months, and he's a top footballer. Technically, he's one of the best in the league, but he just can't show it because it's like I say, it's an athletics track basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So, working through at a good old pace today, gents. We could be through this quite quickly, which is always good. So, what I've just done as well, just to pull up, we've got the teams now. I'm going to start with the team for Tuesday, and then we're going to have a bit of a thought about the team for Friday because we may want to change this and meet it up. Jay, you've mentioned that Andre's out for Friday, so we'll come back to that first. So, let's start with the game tomorrow night. Last time out, obviously, we played a 3. It says a 3-4-2-1. Whether you want to go with that, that's fine. Could have been a 5-4-1 potentially, particularly in the first half. And then obviously Liverpool's on the right hand side of 4-2-3-1. We know we're pretty confident, obviously, that Gomez will drop out for Frimpong. And I think for Liverpool, particularly, I don't see them playing a weakened team, particularly for the Tuesday game because where they are in the league and obviously it's so tight up there and they're going to need to get all the wins. Where do we sit for tomorrow? I think Andre will definitely play irrespective because he can't play Friday, although he is on 9 bookings at the moment and a booking tomorrow will see him out of the next game after that, the next Premier League game after that. But again, doesn't really matter. We are where we are now. I guess the big question is, and I'll ask each of you individually again, and I'll start with you, John, first this time. If you were Rob Edwards, do you go with the same side? Don't change, some people have a don't change a winning team approach. Obviously, Krejci's back from suspension. Would you bring him back? I would say he's been one of our better players. I'd be good to get your opinion on that. And would you swap him for Totti or would you make any other changes as well?
I mean, on one hand, I wouldn't want to swap it just because, I mean, we didn't look like the best team ever on Friday, but we looked solid. We looked like we could compete at least, and we played well. But then Krejci is a very good player. I mean, Totti, I can't think of anything he really did wrong on Friday. I think he came back as if he was fighting for the shirt, in my opinion. I'd be hesitant to change the team, if I'm completely honest, but I'm sure we probably will. The only thing I would probably look at is maybe changing Armstrong for Akradare when you've got the likes of like Kanate and Virgil van Dijk at the back. I just can't see Armstrong making any difference up front there. So I'd probably stop him.
It's okay. So you'd probably put Tolo in instead of Armstrong.
Yeah.
But you probably think Rob's going to stick to his guns and go with the same team.
I'd like to think so. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to change it, to be honest. We looked pretty solid at the back on Friday. Okay.
And then looking ahead for you to Friday, obviously, as I just said, Andre is going to be unavailable. So how would you rotate that? Who would you would you look to put Krejci in midfield for that? What would you look to do in terms of looking at, I know we're looking ahead to Friday. People might get injured or whatever, but assuming we are as we are, what would you do for Friday? Would you look to drop Bellegarde back in there alongside João Gomez? What would you look to do on Friday in terms of dealing with Andre's suspension?
I I'd probably do what you said first. Really, I'd look at putting Krejci in the middle, and then that gives you the ability to play Totti Gomez without any sort of conflicting decision. You can put him back in at the back. I think he'll probably make a few changes. If I'm honest, I'd like to see him start maybe Rodrigo Gomez, just with it being a cup game, albeit we're quite advanced. But yeah, I'd probably go with Krejci in the middle, Totti at the back. I think he might change Sarr, but I'm not 100% sure. I think he probably will. I'd just like Gomez to start, similar to what Jay said, really. He's just a fan favourite for me, really. I just like his enthusiasm for the team, but whether Rob will play him, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah. I mean, Dave, just bring you in on this to give your thoughts and just to build on the point that John's just made about Rodrigo Gomez. There's been a lot of, I've been talking about him very much as a right wing back. However, when Rob's brought him on the last couple of games, he's very much played more in that kind of the 10 role there, like kind of Bellegarde and Mane's at. And that might not be a bad shout with his pace. And he also seems to have a knack of scoring a goal. Let's be honest, he does seem to find a way to score. No jokes about his misses. Yeah, so I think for me, do you think Rob's going to go the same Tuesday? Do you think that's where he's going to go, or do you think he's going to mix it up for Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm the same as John. I'll probably take Armstrong out and bring Tolo in.
Yeah.
You can't really change a winning team now, but with Van Dijk and Konate, he is going to get bullied to shit.
Yeah.
Friday.
Would you just do a straight swap from Armstrong? Sorry, or would you?
Yeah, just a straight swap. He worked hard on Friday, so he might need a bit of a rest just to rest his legs. Yeah. I probably would say take Totti out because I think after having such a long injury as well, his body might be feeling it. With 2 games, it's just a short time. On Rodrigo, I'm not impressed with him at the right wing back, to be honest. I don't think he's a wing back at all. He's too small. But yeah, I like him up front because he just put the pressure on. He presses from the front, which we see. Him and Mane pressing from the front is what we need, just to try and make some mistakes.
What I'm thinking there with that, just to kind of build on your point, is probably he's a player that can run onto flick-ons and stuff like that. Or if we've got to play out long, at least he can chase it down. I think that's probably where it's at. I think, John, you made a good point about Jose. So again, Dave, if we look onto Friday, I think Johnston might come in. He's been the cup goalkeeper, so he might switch that around. But with Andre out, how would you then rebalance the team going ahead, looking into Friday?
I would probably
in the centre of midfield as John would, or would you bring Bellegarde back and look at a different option? Where are your thoughts?
I would probably keep the same team as Friday because it is a winning team, but I would drop Bellegarde to midfield, then bring Armstrong in and bring Tolo up front. I think we've got to go as strong as possible Friday because we've got 10 days before the next game against Brentford, so they've got enough time to rest up.
Listen, we've got nothing else. Friday for me is Tuesday's a free hit, isn't it? Let's be honest, gents. It's a free hit, it's a free swing. Got nothing to lose. Just to there. Friday's the one that actually has something riding on it for us as a team. So in a way, I wouldn't want him to go weaker Tuesday. I don't think he needs to do that tomorrow. But I think if you look at them, and I know a few Wolves fans have been saying we'd quite happily take defeat tomorrow to win the cup game on Friday, of course, and that's a fairly obvious viewpoint. I guess, Jay, for you, tomorrow, are you changing anything, or are you going with that Rob had Villa?
No, I agree. Friday's the priority for me, and I'll be looking to make a couple of changes just to rest some legs, maybe. Yeah. Look at maybe.
Are you changing, mate?
I think Mane's been flogged recently, and I think he needs a bit of a rest. So I'd happily bring Tolo in for him, drop Armstrong into Mane's position. I'd stick with Totti with the thought in mind of bringing Krejci back in for Friday, at that left centre back. And then looking onto Friday, then when Andre's not available, you've got to play Bellegarde in midfield. He's been brilliant there, to be fair. I'd say I'm not quite sure about that format. I think Bellegarde's been deeper than that anyway. So if you could play the two of them and maybe bring in Angel Gomez, mix in, or even Rodrigo Gomez and push him a bit further forward, But yeah, that would be the main thing for me. Make a couple of changes, bring Tolu back in, give Mane a rest, get him ready, fit and firing for Friday, and throw everything at him on Friday night. It should be a good atmosphere Friday. Really, shouldn't it? Friday night under the lights again. Few beers in the South Bank, hopefully, and should be up for it.
I mean, there's going to be obviously a bigger Liverpool presence on Friday with the cup ticket allocation, so they've got the whole of the Steve Bull and obviously the quadrant in the North Bank, so there'll be a much bigger Liverpool contingent on Friday. So that may also.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, let's be honest, we're not exactly selling out. I know the numbers are decent, but we know there's plenty of empty seats around. Certainly with me in the Safe Bank, there's been a number of season ticket holders that haven't been there, and I know there's quite a few tickets. I think both games have gone to general sale, which is unusual for Liverpool. I think the cup match has gone on general sale today, and there's still quite a few empty seats there, and particularly in the Safe Bank, which is, let's be honest, is generally unheard of in the Premier League era this time round. So thank you, gents, for that. I think there's some good options there, some good ideas, certainly things for us to consider. Liverpool, let's have a quick look. So they've got the back four will be a slight difference with Frimpong, and then you've got Gravenberch, McAllister, Salah, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, and Ekitike. And I think that's likely, from what we're hearing, that's what they'll roll with. I guess from your perspective, Jay, I guess two questions for you. Where do you see the Liverpool's key person? Who's their biggest player that we need to, whether that's defensively or attacking? And where do you see kind of the big battles going on tomorrow?
I don't think that I like Ekitike. I think he's a really good footballer, and I said earlier that he's a good footballer, technically quality, but obviously not available. Obviously Salah he's when on his day is one of the best, but we've seen him have many bad performances at the moment. We've pocketed him time after time, so I'm going to say I'm not overly concerned about anything that they can throw at us, other than maybe Szoboszlai. He's ridiculously good.
So do you think that's the battle there? Do you think that's the battle there? It's going to be Andre that's going to need to deal with Szoboszlai, let's be honest.
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
one of the key battles there, or do you think, as Dave has talked about, it's Tolu up against the two big centre-halves, giving them some grief? Where do you see the key battles?
I don't see Tolu giving them those centre halves any grief whatsoever. I know he's a big lad, but they'll just eat him up. I think that'll be a perfect game for them to. So if you're trying to lump balls up to Tolu, it'll be ideal for them. But the one that you're going to look at is probably, like say, Bellegarde carrying the ball from deep and looking to cause trouble, but we don't really do that very often. And yeah, maybe see Mosquera against Ekitike, see if he can rough him up a little bit.
Okay, good stuff. Dave, your thoughts? Who do you see as Liverpool's key man, and where do you see like a key? But if we are to get something, a positive result out of the game, where do you see us, a key battle that we really need to win?
I mean, it is Szoboszlai. He's been on a different level this season, and compared to most other attacking midfielders. He just smacks at him from 40 yards for fun whenever he wants. See, I'm going to disagree on the Tolu up against the centre halves. I think Konate this season has been he's had a few ricks in him. I think if you can pin Tolu up against him, he might have a bit of success. I'm not saying he's going to be world class against him, but he might be able to put a bit of a show against him. Obviously, against Van Dijk, he's going to struggle, but yeah, stick him on Konate.
If he can pull off Van Dijk and get onto Konate, he could cause him some problems, but I just expect Van Dijk to mop anything up, to be honest.
I think if he can get Jackson in a bit of confidence up against Kirkes, he'll have a beaten of Kirkes all day.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I looked at the fullbacks and the wings, and I think that could be an interesting space. And John, just to kind of loop you in terms of your key player for Liverpool and key battles. One of the points, and Sativa, thank you. I know you're a regular on the channel, so thank you very much. One of the points that he's made, and it is very true, is that Liverpool are very hit and miss this season. They tend to be, they're not as misses us. They do have some hits. We have very few hits, more misses. But they haven't been, let's be honest, they're not really the Liverpool side of old. They're not the Klopp Liverpool, are they? They've been very patchy in terms of form. So in a weird way, yes, they had a decent enough result on the weekend, but they're not the Liverpool team that we need to be scared of as such. But again, what would you see as you say? Szoboszlai's been picked out already quite a bit. Would you agree with that assessment, or would you go down a different route?
I think I agree on the whole. Really, I just think Etiki. I can never say his name properly. The striker is. I always say it like wrong. Yeah, he's. I mean, he's going to be the danger man. I think he's just. What's he on now? Is it like 11 or 12 goals in the league? And considering he was written off by most people after the first few months, he's doing pretty well. Gakpo played pretty well against West Ham, but he can be hit and miss. My biggest concern, I think, is probably Mosquera trying to get one of their players like either in a chokehold or some kind of horror foul. To be honest, I can see a red card coming somewhere. Yeah, which wouldn't be like us, would it? But yeah, I think that's going to be one of the key things. I think for us going forward, like Dave said, Konaté's been wobbly against West Ham. He was wobbly. They didn't look particularly amazing against West Ham, to be honest. I think they had less possession. I know they scored 5. They only had 7 on target, so I don't know. I think there's potential for us to maybe get something, a bit of an upset, but I think it's going to be a big ask. But yeah, consistency for them's not been there as well. They've won the last 4 games, but I think they kind of got a bit lucky at times with West Ham. I mean, Alisson had that one where he passed it straight to Bowen, and Konaté just wasn't really clearing the ball a lot of the time and kind of hoofing it back up. So I like to think we might do something up front with Tolu, maybe big presence, but in reality, I'm not sure.
I think if we can stay solid, I don't think they're particularly, they're not like say the Liverpool of old that will just cut you apart for fun. So if we can stay solid, keep it tight, and then maybe try and get a goal on the break a bit like Villa.
Yeah, I think the difference for me tomorrow is if we play the first half against Liverpool the way we played the first half in Villa, they'll be out of sight. It'll be 2-3-0 and the game will be done. I think we've got to start the game tomorrow in the same way we finished the game against Villa. I think that's the difference here. I think we have to start with that, and because I think if we go behind, I think the heads will drop and we're back to where we were. So we have to start well. We can't concede early like we did against Chelsea, like we did against Arsenal. We've got no rash defending. Oh God, this is a bloody shopping list. But we've got to start on that basis. And I think the fans will then buy in and we'll build from there. If we start the way we started against Villa, against Liverpool tomorrow, we get beat and comfortably beat. And let's be honest, we aren't a great team. We've not had a great season. And I think that's where we've got to really, tomorrow we do that. I think Friday we then spin again and we build out. So, but I think you're all right. I think it's there. I think there's some big battles, but this is not an amazing, brilliant Liverpool team. And I think we've just got to build out from that. Right. Predictions tomorrow. Scores on the doors, gentlemen, please. So, Jay, you can go first. Score prediction for tomorrow.
We can go 1-1.
You're going 1-1.
Ambitious. Okay. Yeah, we're staying positive, aren't we? Positive today.
Yeah, you go however you want to go, mate. The beauty of this show. You voice your opinion and you go. Dave?
I'm going to bring the mood down. 3-0 Liverpool.
Okay. Is that so you can then justify a win on Friday? Is that psychology?
While I'm in Milan, I can celebrate.
We're going to lull them into a full sense of security. Chat, please drop in your score predictions. North's gone with a 2-0 Liverpool.
He's been really positive starting in North Street.
Yeah, he's gone with 2-0 Liverpool. So not a hiding, but a defeat. John, your score prediction for tomorrow. How do you think it's going to go?
I was kind of thinking the same. I think I can't see us doing it tomorrow, but then Friday night, I think we might squeeze it. Now, I think it's similar to when we played them away. I think maybe 2-1, but we'll give them a good battle. I think, but they'll most likely win 2-1. I think something like that. Anyway,
I think someone commented earlier on when we first started about maybe VAR coming to Liverpool's rescue and putting that in. So, yeah. So we'll see. Neil, before I do mine, Neil White's gone with I presume a 4-0 Liverpool victory. So yeah, we're not feeling it at the moment. I think Jay's gone with that. I'm inclined, John, to go the same as you. I think it's going to be a 2-1. I think it'll be a close game, closer than I probably think. That said, we'll probably get tonked 6 now. I've said that. But I think we should. There's no reason why we shouldn't start with a bit of positivity off the back of that game, off the Villa game, particularly as it's so soon. There's not a big, like Dave, you just said, like Brentford, there's going to be a 10-game gap from the FA, 10-day gap. There we go. From the Liverpool Cup match till Brentford. But this is, sometimes having these games in a short period can build momentum, you know what I mean? Because you're kind of bouncing, it can be a bit on the legs.
I think players would rather play games than go to training, so I think they'd probably be more than up for it.
Yeah, we should. Well, like I just said, it's Liverpool at home under the lights. We should be up for it. The professional football, there shouldn't be, no excuses for that. Rob's got a full squad, so there's no things from there. I think that's probably the bigger option there. Win, lose, or draw. One thing's for sure: the ref will be shite. Well, it might not just be the ref; it might be VAR as well. I mean, we're seeing contentious and interesting VAR decisions. I'm not going to dwell on those too much because we could be on here for another hour. To be honest,
I was at Anfield for that Totti one, the one he got displayed when.
Yeah, I was there.
They couldn't find a camera angle to there the goal.
I'm still not over that, to be honest.
I don't think we ever will.
Well, that started it, really. I mean, then there was all the Onana and all those others that followed after, but that was really the catalyst that started that ongoing debacle. So, yeah, it looks like we've got 2 good games. Let's see how we play. Thank you, Jay, Dave, and John, for your contributions, your thoughts. Really great to get that insight. Love the fact we've got slightly different opinions as well. Wouldn't the world be a boring place if we all went the same route at the same time? So it's good to there. And then, John, just before we end, one last question for you. Someone put in the chat right at the start, they were asking about your shirt.
Okay.
I think they were asking what season was it from. Sorry, I can't find it. But there was here we go. I found it. So, there's a question there. Great shirt, John. What year was that from? So if you could kindly oblige, and if you want to give a quick shout out for your Wolves shirts, please go ahead.
This is one of the shirts in my collection. It's a 2001 away shirt with the controversial blue. But yeah, I've got my Instagram just down below where I've got a lot of my collection on there. It's a bit of a hobby that got out of control, really. But
yeah. Well, there's worse hobbies to have, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, it could be addicted to a lot worse.
Exactly. So there we go. On that note, everyone, let's wish for a positive result tomorrow. Thank you again for joining. Last but not least, up the Wolves. All right.